Hey everyone, it's Adrienne Leosa with Treaty Oak Properties, and today I am bringing you the Austin Metro rental statistics for October 2024. Let's go ahead and get started with the stats and trends that we're seeing in the market for single family rentals and duplexes this month. Starting with single family rentals, we saw a slight decrease in overall leasing activity with 1,504 leases signed this October compared to 1,578 that we saw last year. This is a drop of about 4.7%. New listings in this category are also down a little bit by 1.15%, meaning we're seeing slightly fewer options coming into the market than last year, which, by the way, is a completely fine statistic for me. We should not be seeing more properties enter into the market outside of leasing season. Leasing is super cyclical and rental demand is at its highest during leasing season, and that is during the months of March through June, July is when those things start to taper off. When it comes to pricing, the average lease rate for single family homes is down nearly 2%, sitting at $2,467 compared to $2,515 a month last October. The median rent has followed a slightly similar trend, decreasing by around 2.4% to $2,195 a month. It's just a slight decrease, and really average sold price and median sold price are very slight decreases year over year. I would almost argue that these have remained stable, but not. They've dipped just slightly. The slight decrease in rental rates is probably welcomed by renters, but can indicate that some landlords starting to feel competitive pressure to keep rates more attractive. In this rental market, where we have consistently seen for 2 years now that rental rates have tracked downwards for the most part in terms of pricing and the amount of leases signed, we can say that rental demand is down slightly, and that is because of the inventory that we've experienced. In this market, the two things that will move a property available on the lease market to leased are price and days on market. So those are the only two levers that you have to pull in order to get a property leased, as long as you're doing everything else right, which means the property looks good, shows well, professionally photographed, things like that. So just keep in mind, do the numbers, make sure that you understand $100 a month decreases in rental rate is $1,200 on a year spread. But when we see something like the median sold price, median rental rate is $2,195 a month, and you haven't decreased by $100 a month, but you have been on the market for 30 days, you have lost $2,195 a month, for example, while you're trying to chase $1,200 a year. That math doesn't math. So make sure that you put pencil to paper when considering these things. A notable statistic also to keep an eye on is the average days on market. It has risen from 45 to 48 days, about a 6.7% increase year over year. This suggests that properties are taking longer to lease. We have talked about this. We've seen this just increasingly tick up slightly month over month. So 48 days on market is a long time. It can feel like an eternity to some people. So keep in mind that you want to eliminate vacancy as a landlord. And part of doing that is sometimes reducing price to make sure that you have a competitive lease price, ending vacancy, getting a tenant in there, starting to pay, your utilities, starting to pay lawn care, things like that. So eliminating vacancy should be priority for you. Let's go ahead and shift to duplexes now. The dynamics are a little bit different here. Total leases for duplexes have actually increased by 5.6% from 196 to 207 year over year. There's still a healthy demand in this segment. New listings for duplexes have seen a significant rise at nearly 40% from 217 last October to 303 this year. A spike in inventory means more options for renters and also some competition among landlords in order to attract tenants. I do think also that a little part of this, particularly in this month and maybe even what we're going to see in November, has to do with the inventory that comes on the market annually for UT pre-leasing units and doors that are available, duplexes that are available. This is when we start to see them come available on the market, available for pre-lease for the 2025 or for the spring semester, right? So I do think that those numbers affect this slightly with what we're seeing. Price-wise, duplexes have remained fairly stable. Average lease price has barely changed, hovering at about $1,748 a month. The median rent has seen a slightly larger decrease of 2.65%, dropping to 1650. Similar to single family rentals, average days on market for duplexes have increased by almost 18%. So from 45 days on market to 53 days on market. That is a long time. This jump in market suggests renters have more choices, which could drive a bit more price sensitivity. When duplexes, and we think about other options for duplex renters, you might consider apartments, right? I get asked a lot whether or not how apartment availability and surplus inventory affects duplexes and duplex rental statistics, right? What we see and what we've felt in our condo statistics and in our duplex statistics, lease listing wise, is that we have had to offer things like 1 full month's rent, 3 weeks free rent, things like that, in order to compete with the apartment inventory that we have on the market. So being cognizant of those things, making sure that your property is competitive is important. Overall, Austin's rental market is showing signs of moderate cool down. This is seasonal. As I mentioned earlier, rental demand is March through June, July. And so every year, no matter what's going on in the world, what's going on in the market, we are going to naturally see a cool down. What does drive renters during this time of the year are major life events, changing jobs, moving across the country, switching it up in terms of economics, things like that. So that is the driver during this time of the year. If you will refer to the Indeed statistics that we look at sometimes, you'll see that job postings will start to tick up in the new year. People do job changes and things like that. So that can be one of the main drivers for leasing during the off season. So it is possible to lease during this time of the year. It's not impossible. We can lease 365 days out of the year. But what affects us during this market seasonality is that we see longer days on market and we see lower rental rates. So keep in mind that if you're going to be leasing your property during the slower months, you want to set yourself up for that lease to expire during the spring or the summer of 2026 at this point in time. So spring or summer 2026. That way you eliminate vacancy for over 12 months. You have a larger renter pool. People don't always want shorter leases. Most generally want longer leases. And of course, eliminating vacancy for more than 12 months. You don't want to experience all of the vacancy costs that can come into play for those sorts of things. So that wraps up our analysis for this month. Stay tuned for next month's update where we will dive into the latest trends and what that means for Austin Metro rental market. Thank you guys so much. Again, Adrienne Leosa with Treaty Oak Properties. I'll be back next month.